You ever notice how some silences aren't peaceful at all? Like not even close. There's this kind of hush you find only in neighborhoods so fancy the average property tax could fund a small revolution somewhere. It's not serene. It's suffocating, judgy. You can feel it pressing in from the perfectly trimmed Bermuda grass triple-paned windows, blocking out the sound of anyone not holding a country club membership, and those electric lawn tools humming away all polite and quiet and somehow threatening. That's Whispering Pines Estates, my home. Asphalt so smooth you'd think you were driving on velvet if velvet came with a monthly fee. The people faces stretch tighter than a drum. Botox on layaway. I'm Mike Thompson, by the way. 34. I make my living trading high volatility futures, and at the moment I was public enemy number one around here. Didn't start that way, though. Back before the lawsuits, before things got weirdly viral, and before the cheese incident, I was just a guy waxing his car on a Tuesday. You want to talk about cars? Mine was a McLaren Artura. Yeah, that one. If you're not a car person, all you need to know is it's less car, more physics experiment. Hybrid supercar, $250,000, and the color volcano yellow looked like I stole a piece of the sun and parked it out front to annoy the neighbors. I'd been at it for 2 hours. Microfiber towel over my shoulder, ceramic booster spray, the whole deal. There's something about working on a machine like that. You know, that smell of wax, the smoothness of the carbon fiber, those lines that probably only make sense to engineers who dream in equations. It was therapy. The market's chaos. The car order. At least until she showed up. You missed a spot, a voice tossed from behind me. I didn't jump. I didn't even flinch. Just let out this long sigh that felt like deflating a balloon with a slow leak. That voice, Barbara Patterson, the president, treasurer, secretary, and let's be honest, the neighborhood's supreme overlord. She was perched on her champagne gold golf cart, the battle station rain cover zipped seat warmers on, and her ever-present clipboard in her lap. I turned, tried to smile. It felt like chewing tinfoil. Good morning, Barbara. She never called me Mike, always Michael. You know how when you're in trouble, your mom uses your full name. Same energy. We need to talk about the other vehicle, she said. My hand just stopped on the fender. I'd been waiting for this. I knew it would come ever since that HOA meeting. I'd skipped the one where I would have preferred a root canal. The truck I asked already knowing. The abomination, she corrected. Old Betsy. My 2003 Ford Ranger. She wasn't pretty, hell. She was more patches than paint at this point, bumper all crooked from that time at the lumberyard, a history of dings and primer spots, but she ran. Hauled mulch lumber, anything too grubby for the McLaren. Honest work in a world of fake assets. She has to go, Barbara said light as if asking me to change my socks. I laughed, but it came out more like a bark. Go where? There's no room in the garage, Barb. And I need the truck. I'm building a deck next month. You want me hauling 4x4s in the McLaren? She sniffed. Hire a contractor. That's what normal people do. I told her I liked doing it myself. Didn't matter. She reached for her clipboard, the source of all her bureaucratic powers, and started reading out Resolution 404. No, not a joke. Resolution 404, like sense of humor not found. I had to walk all the way down the driveway to take the neon pink copy she held out like radioactive waste. I skimmed it. It was dense, packed with legalese about maintaining the highest visual standards dilapidated vehicles, and a whole checklist that weirdly sounded a lot like my truck rust-peeling paint mismatched panels broken trim. You get the idea. You wrote this about my truck, I said, staring her down. She gave me a smile so thin it could cut glass. Don't be dramatic, Michael. It applies to everyone. It just so happens you're the only one with a rolling scrapyard in your driveway. My jaw clenched. I told her the Johnsons had a Land Rover older than time itself. She shrugged. It's pristine. That's the standard. But theirs doesn't even run, I said. She didn't care. Function was irrelevant. Form was everything. You have 48 hours to comply, she finished. Or it's $200 a day. Escalating. Maximum statutory limit. Lien on your property. Extortion motivation, she called it, backing her card out with a little wave. I just stood there, pink slip in hand, blood pressure spiking. Technically, she was right. Betsy was ugly. But she was mine. I ran my hand over her battered hood. If I fixed her up, it'd cost $4,000 easy. The truck might be worth $1,500 on a good day. I went inside, tossed the slip on the kitchen island, cracked a beer 11 a.m. But whatever. Sarah, my wife, didn't even look up from her laptop. Bad run-in with the sheriff. Banned Betsy. No ugly cars. She just said, Mike, even you have to admit the bumper's held on with a zip tie. Structural zip tie, I argued. She just raised an eyebrow. Sell it, buy a newer one. She was right, and I hated that. But I'm a trader, I live for loopholes. I pulled up the HOA portal, read that rule again. It was all surface-level visible rust, peeling paint mismatch panels. Penalized age, where the entropy of the universe. But it was all about what things looked like, not what they were. So I listed Betsy. Dave, a contractor, showed up by 4, kicked the tires, nodded, paid me $1,800 cash on the spot. Watched her drive away, coughing blue smoke, and felt this stupid hollow feeling in my chest. I'd lost. Barbara had won. Changed my life to suit her taste. That night, Barbara strutted by walking her poodle. Stopped, saw the empty spot. Smiled. That smug, I've won smile. Much better, Michael. See? Was that so hard? That damn wave. That little flutter of fingers. It triggered something cold and sharp in my brain. I went back inside, opened the PDF of Resolution 4. 04, started reading like a lawyer. Rust. Presence of iron oxide. Peeling paint. Degradation of top coat revealing primer. Also literal. They banned actual rust, actual paint failure, but not pictures of them. The law was written to kill my truck, but it didn't ban simulations. What if I just made my McLaren look like a junkyard? The idea started as a joke, but it stuck. I Googled vinyl wrap shops, skipped the boring ones, found this wild place called Vinyl Voodoo Guys, who wrapped Lamborghinis to look like fighter jets. I filled out the contact form. I want you to ruin it. Make it look like it's been at the bottom of the ocean for 50 years. I want rust. I want corrosion. Make it look like a health hazard. Hit send. Vinny called the next morning. You drunk? He asked. No, and I'm serious. My HOA president is a tyrant, and I want to see if she'll try to ban a supercar covered in fake rust. He laughed hard. This is gonna cost you. 5-6 grand at least. I don't care. Book it. Drove the McLaren to the industrial side of town where Barbara would have a panic attack just seeing the chain link fences, parked between a dumpster and a Civic with no bumper. Vinny looked like a brick wall with a beard. He circled the car, grinned. You want to turn this thing into a weapon? Inside the shop smelled like glue and pizza. Vinny fired up his design software, pulled up a 3D model of my car. We went wild. High-res rust textures, peeling paint, optical illusion style layers that looked like the yellow was flaking primer underneath. Fake duct tape, fake grease pencil markings, 04 Civic $50. Fake industrial rivets, every detail down to zip ties holding the rear diffuser. It looked like a Mad Max reject. I left the car with him, caught an Uber home, heart pounding. The next week I played the model citizen, mowed my lawn, waved at neighbors. Barbara kept stopping by, hinting maybe I'd gone neutral, maybe slate gray, something tasteful. It's going to be different, Barb. Full of character. She nodded, smug. Finally, Vinny called, Come get your beast. I took another Uber. The shop was quiet. My car was under a black silk drop cloth. Vinny's crew gathered round, all grins. Unveil the beast, he announced. They yanked the cover. It was grotesque. My beautiful, perfect car looked diseased, matte, rusty, with fake holes, primer gray door duct tape bumper sticker. My other car is a Porsche. I laughed until my ribs hurt. I drove home, every head turning as I rolled by. At the gate, Greg the guard almost called hazmat. It's just a wrap, I told him. You might need a tetanus shot, he said. Barbara and her sidekick Karen were outside, clipboard in hand. I parked dead center, mismatched door facing them, got out. Their jaws dropped. Honey, I'm home, I called out. Barbara stammered. Is that the McLaren custom job? Do you like it? Urban decay. She went purple. I'm calling the police, it's Art, Barb. And fully compliant. She screeched, dialing 911 as I walked inside, whistling. My wife stared at me, glass of wine in hand, like maybe she'd married a lunatic. You spent 5 grand to make your car look like it has meth teeth. To prove a point, I said. Barbara doesn't get to decide what's ugly. 10 minutes later, blue and red lights strobed across the street, but no sirens. In Whispering Pines, sirens are noise pollution. Officer Miller got out, already looking tired. Barbara ranted about hazardous waste property values. Think of the geese. Miller just stared at the car, then at me. Mike, is this a sticker? He pressed his finger against the rust hole, expecting crunch. Got smooth vinyl. He actually laughed. Full on doubled over, I can't believe I'm here laughter. Barbara lost it. Tow it, she screamed. It's trash. Miller just shook his head. Ma'am, being ugly isn't a crime. If it were, half the Hondas in this town would be impounded. Crowd gathered. Someone asked if the rust was real. It's a wrap, I shouted. The weird guy from the corner said, kind of cool. Barbara's head nearly exploded. She kept at it next morning, a violation notice taped to my windshield, $500 fine recurring daily. Tuesday, $1,000. Wednesday, $1,500. She was relentless. By the board meeting, I owed over $10,000. I showed up with my lawyer, Jessica, property law, shark hates HOAs. Showed them the vinyl, the appraisal, the trophy I'd won at a local car show, People's Choice, believe it or not. Even had a buyer lined up, Marcus, a collector, offered $300,000, way over market value just for the spite story. Board tried the community standards angle. I held up the legal definitions, no actual rust, no real damage, paint pristine under the wrap. The crowd sided with me. The mood flipped. Barbara was losing control. You're mocking us, she shrieked. Maybe. But you started it, I said. 2 days later, a lawsuit landed on my doorstep. Whispering Pines HOA versus Michael Thompson. Breach of covenant, creation of public nuisance, all that jazz. They wanted a judge to force me to remove the wrap. That was fine by me. My lawyer was practically giddy. Court day. Judge Reynolds, old guy, bushy eyebrows, zero patience for nonsense. So, Mr. Thompson, the HOA is suing you because your car is ugly, he asked. Yes, Your Honor. But it's not actually rusty, it's just a wrap. Jessica handed over the appraisal, the offer letter from Marcus, the award, the social media stats. The judge just shook his head, trying not to laugh. Case dismissed. The fines are vacated, legal fees to the defendant. I walked out winner. The car was now a local legend. Frank, my grumpy lawyer neighbor, put a bullet hole sticker on his Mercedes out of solidarity. The revolution had begun. Barbara quit. Health reasons. Neighborhood started relaxing. I kept the rust wrap for a while. People drove by just to stare. Kids wanted selfies. Vinny's shop had a waiting list for the Thompson special. Even my old Ford Ranger made a comeback, bought her back from Dave because, well, you can't kill nostalgia. But eventually I missed the yellow. The sun came back. Drove the car home shiny and perfect. Saw Barbara watching from her porch, that smug look back on her face. Finally came to your senses, Michael, she called out. Looks like you finally realized that trash doesn't belong here. I looked at her at her beige house, at my blindingly beautiful McLaren. Felt a twitch. Actually, Barb, I just took it off to make room for the new design. She froze. New design? Yeah, the rust was a bit dark. I wanted something brighter, more organic. She squinted suspicion on her face. Didn't answer. Just winked, went inside and called Vinny. I've got an idea, I said. Swiss cheese. Moldy. Full biological horror. He cackled. On it. 3 days later, the car was back, pale yellow, giant holes, green, fuzzy mold, graphics everywhere. It was repulsive. Barbara stared, took off her glasses, put them back on, stared again. Sat down and started to cry. I felt a pang of guilt. Briefly. Like atomic-sized. Then I looked at my $300,000 block of cheese, smiled, and revved the engine. Hungry work, I muttered. Grabbed the keys to the Ford, yeah. Betsy's back, headed for Taco Bell. I was in the mood for something cheesy. And you... What would you have done? Where's the line between fighting for your space and just being spiteful, ever tangled with an HOA or some little tyrant and found your own loophole? Tell me, am I the villain or the hero in this mess? Or just the guy who got tired of beige and decided just once to be the weirdest thing on the block?